The saga continues. New tonight, the former Prime Minister says fire Keith Bell. The immigration minister still catching heat over alleged department interference. This as a three-sentence statement from the Prime Minister says Bahamians deserve the facts as government takes immigration concerns seriously. And a man implicated in a missing man's murder gets his day in court. Then in Our News at 7:30. Wrap it up. An Our News health alert shows STIs on the rise in Grand Bahama as residents react. Our News live at 7 starts right now. Tonight, I'm Kindino Knowles. The saga continues tonight in the story we've been following with Immigration Minister Keith Bell after alleged interference with some Chinese workers of British Colonial Hotel on permit who were sent into detention. The issue taking center stage on Sunday when the opposition held a press conference and presented details of the alleged interference. That briefing was followed by a demonstration in Rawson Square yesterday where protesters clashed. Also at the center of the saga, questions about discrepancies in work permits, questions that Bell said last week he would answer thoroughly in Wednesday's parliamentary session. As Sasha Lightbourne tells us, in yesterday's proceedings in the House, former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis raised 30 questions of his own, some of which government may attempt to answer tomorrow.
The records reflect he was here on the 31st. The man died on the 29th. He received a call. So for this to happen, the member would have had to be in Switzerland, run back here on the 31st, then mark present, and fly back out the following day.
That's former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis giving his own account of the ordeal surrounding Immigration Minister Keith Bell granting citizenship to 3 people at a funeral a few months ago.
Would the Honourable Minister of Immigration confirm for this Honourable House that he was physically present in this Honourable House for the presentation of the budget debate on the 31st of May 2023. I want to repeat that because a register is kept in Parliament to confirm or deny whether an individual is present. Now you must remember that Mr. Racine died on the 29th of May. Keep those words, keep those numbers in your head.
In total, Dr. Minnis laid 30 questions on the floor of the House of Assembly for Bell to answer, some specifically about the timeline of Bell's travel to Switzerland for an ILO conference and the deceased's funeral.
Frank Racine, and I quote, words of the minister, he would have called me while he was in hospital. I was in Switzerland at that time. The records are here. When I returned, he was being buried within the week of that Saturday. The records are here. Question 29. It is evident that there's a complete disconnect, and we don't use the word lie, but dishonesty.
The House of Assembly resumes on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Reporting for Our News, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
All right, thanks for that, Sasha. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Philip Davis releasing a statement last evening on concerns related to the Immigration Department. The three-sentence statement explaining government takes the concerns seriously and Bahamians deserve the facts. It continues, quote, we are working to pull together detailed answers to address these concerns and look forward to releasing those in short order, end quote. And now to police, who have charged a suspect with murder after a missing man was found dead. Prosecutors say 32-year-old Ashton Sweeting is responsible for the murder of Murray Walks, who was last seen alive on July 8th. Walks' body was found wrapped in a blue tarp on a farm off Carmichael Road on July 12th. Sweeting, who appeared before Acting Chief Magistrate Roberto Reckley, was not asked to plead to the charge. He was denied bail and is expected back in court on October 24th to be indicted. And amid what seems to be mounting concerns over police officers allegedly beating individuals into confessions while in custody, National Security Minister Wayne Munro says faceless allegations against law enforcement officers will not be tolerated. He says practicing attorneys need to do their jobs in instances like these.
You don't have to prove in a criminal case that you were beaten. Once you make the allegation, the prosecution now has to prove that you were not beaten. My colleagues who are still in active practice need to suck it up, do their jobs, present the evidence to vindicate their clients' rights.
Now, his comments come after Bradshaw Demerit revealed he intends to file a civil suit against the Commissioner of Police for allegedly being beaten while in custody. Additionally, a man recently telling the Tribune his brother was beaten while at the Central Investigations Department. The issue isn't a new one, as multiple attorneys have spoken out about clients being beaten into confessions, which they say is oftentimes revealed in trials.
It is not sufficient that somebody alleges the police has beaten them. They have to prove it. Having a confession excluded at a criminal trial does not mean that you're going to be able to prove police brutality at a civil trial. A criminal trial, the Crown has to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt. You don't have to do anything. Someone just has to doubt. So if a jury ends up thinking, you may have done it, you may not have done it, we're not sure, you get acquitted. So there's a difference between getting acquitted and a finding of police brutality.
All right, now to a follow-up to a news alert on Monday, as it's been reported that sexually transmitted infections in Grand Bahama are increasing at a rapid rate. So far this year, some 28 cases have been recorded. We spoke with Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville on the news prior to this week's cabinet briefing.
I did read the report from the physician associated with that. I would like the general public to know that under the leadership of Nakia Forbes, we have amalgamated HIV, STIs, and tuberculosis. We are doing an extensive amount of work. We're digitizing the results, and we are now looking to substantiate whether or not that was a surge. But I am in close contact with infectious disease expert, Ms. Forbes, Dr. Forbes, who is leading the charge with STIs.
Now, Artalia Hall speaks with Grand Bahama residents on the issue. Coming up in our news at 7:30, we've also got the latest on that new hospital in New Providence and the graduation of 39 new doctors. But before we get to all of that, it's time now for your first look at temperatures. Meteorologist Greg Thompson, he's in the Weather Center. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Candino, and a happy Tuesday evening, everybody. We are starting to see some showers outside our studios right now as we have some moisture moving in. Temperature right now, it's still very humid, 86 degrees under partly cloudy skies, and as I mentioned, some showers and some thunderstorms nearby. Your winds are out of the east-northeast at 12 miles per hour. A little bit of a breeze, but it's not taking much off the temperature. Your feels-like temperature is still a very warm 94 degrees. Temperatures around the islands right now in the northwest Bahamas, it's 88 in Freeport, 86 over in Marsh Harbor, Abaco, 87 Alistown, Bimini, and in Great Harbor Key. Nichols, San Andres, you guys are also 87 with some showers and thunderstorms nearby here in the capital as well. 85 in Governor's Harbor, Central Bahamas, 86 in Kemps Bay, Coburn Townsend, Salvador. We pick up 85s in Arthurstown, Cat Island. Deadman's Key, you also 85, 84 in Georgetown and into the southeast Bahamas, Duncantown, Ragged Island, 84. 85s, Colonel Hill, Cricket Island, Delectable Bay, 86 again, popping up in Abrams Bay and Matthewtown, Inagua, and our very good neighbors to the southeast, Turks and Caicos Islands, you guys are currently 86 at this hour. Satellite and radar composite, we're starting to see some moisture moving, courtesy of a couple of features, one spinning just to the south of western Cuba, that's an upper level low, that's pulling some moisture across the area, that's the reason why we're starting to see some showers and some thunderstorms. We also have an upper level system just to the east of the Bahamas, as well as a surface trough or low level disturbance. That will translate towards the west and bring us some more showers and thunderstorms. So we're looking at some more showers in the forecast, at least for the next couple of days. But this system, the National Hurricane Center, is continuing to monitor for some possible development. Very low chance, but we will watch this one as it moves across the area throughout the rest of the week. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. So look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come in our news, the impasse between government and gas retailers continues. The financial secretary gives us the latest on stalled negotiations. And securing their white coats, 39 new doctors graduate from UWI, taking a sacred oath. But first, investigators on Eleuthera probing a hit and run that claimed the life of a 23-year-old man. When our news returns. A 23-year-old man is dead tonight following a traffic accident in Eleuthera early yesterday morning. Police say the Deep Creek resident was found lying in the road near the Urban Renewal Center in Greencastle around 3:18 with severe injuries, including abrasions to the face. Police say he was airlifted to New Providence, where he died as a result of his injuries. Investigations are said to be ongoing. Now to petroleum retailers who continue to push for a 30 cents per gallon margin, arguing the current margins aren't sustainable. Retailers recently temporarily suspended sales of diesel in hopes of government addressing their issues, but the tactic failed, with government maintaining it will not do anything to cause an increase at the pumps. Financial Secretary Simon Wilson speaking with reporters on the issue today.
I think those discussions are in abeyance. We have a proposal before them, and they have a counter proposal before the government. I'm assuming that perhaps late in the summer we will get together and try to finalize it.
And now this update from Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville on plans for the new hospital in New Providence, including consideration of another location. The property, often discussed, sits near the JFK roundabout in the area of Propel Track, which Dr. Darville has said will improve the ease of access thanks to it being linked to many of the country's main roads and highways.
I did allude to the fact that the location is close to the Princess Margaret Hospital, close to the Paul Track area, and I'm pleased to report that the geotechnical studies, as well as all of the assessments of the tomography of the land, has been extremely positive, and the environmental impact assessment is favorable for that location. So I am going to finalize that location, but there's one other location that we want to rule out before that final decision is made.
All right, 39 new doctors taking their oaths and getting their robes and stethoscopes last night at Bahamas. Marlena was there to speak with them about their journey.
The graduating class of the University of the West Indies was welcomed by an energized crowd of loved ones and congratulated by both the Minister of Education and the Minister of Health on their achievements. Now, of the 39 graduates, only 4 of these new doctors are men. Here's Dr. Christopher Cash.
I do hope to further my studies and obviously to become a consultant in internal medicine and further my studies in cardiology.
When asked what he feels may be deterring young men from pursuing medicine,
it's a lot of hard work, and I guess over the course of the years, I guess males on to the task of studying medicine, because it's a lot of time in school, a lot of time from parties, a lot of time from friends and family. So I guess over the years I transitioned more to the, I guess, female dominance. So that's why there's a transition between male and females now, being the ratio as is like 2%.
Dr. Claire Edgecombe hopes to pursue a career in anesthesiology. She was one of the most outstanding students of the class of 2023 and received the Dr. Cecil M. Bethel Award. She tells us the journey wasn't easy and she often had to self-motivate.
It's just knowing that I had a goal in mind and I've been going at this for so long and knowing where I come from. I'm from Andros, that's where I did all my schooling, so not a private school inside, so I really got this like from the ground up, and I know that my family was rooting for me, so it just continued to motivate me to push towards the goal.
Dr. Hannah Thompson scored the highest on the final MBBS examination.
I've wanted to be a doctor for a very long time. My granddad was a doctor, and he really inspired me because I wanted to be just like him. And I think that and the support of my parents have really kept me going over the years. I'm interested in surgery. Right now, plastic and reconstructive surgery is my top choice.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
When Our News comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as Israeli doctors on strike today over recent judicial reforms threatening democracy. Plus, the National Monument Proclamation for Emmett Till in the United States. President Joe Biden says his memory will not be erased. This as load shedding persists on Montserrat. 6 of the island's 7 power generators currently out of service. We'll tell you the outside help they're getting when Our News returns. This is our news. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. Israeli doctors began a 24-hour strike today in response to government's ratification of the first part of judicial reforms that some fear endanger the independence of the courts. Demonstrations have been ongoing for months, but on Monday night, thousands took to the streets scuffling with police. Critics say the new law threatens democracy, claiming long-serving Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is pushing Israel towards autocracy.
We cannot protect the public in this kind of situation, and we also will continue to demonstrate our protest.
I feel very sad and worried. I feel that the contract between the state and the citizens was broken, sadly, for no good reason.
Scientists say a vital system of ocean currents could collapse within a few decades if the world continues to pump out planet-heating pollution. A new study published Tuesday found the overturning current could collapse around the middle of the century or as early as 2025. The current plays a crucial role in the climate system, helping regulate global weather patterns, and scientists say its collapse would cause more extreme winters and sea levels to rise, affecting the tropics. And the White House says U.S. President Joe Biden will establish a national monument honoring Emmett Till and his mother. Till was a black teenager who was lynched in Mississippi in 1955.
To remember history is to shine a light on the good, the bad, the truth, and who we are as a nation. And our history shows that while darkness and denialism hide very much, they erase nothing.
I want to say it's a blessing because so often they want to erase the events that happen to African Americans. But you can't erase it.
San Francisco headquarters paused their work after police arrived at the scene. The sign change came after Twitter owner Elon Musk rebranded the social media company to X. Ryan Chang has the details.
Martin Grasser, one of the three designers behind the Bluebird logo, told Reuters he was sad to see it go.
It represents the best of the internet's adolescence. And I think that it recalls a time when a lot of people, I don't mean this to sound cynical, but believed more in the power of the internet.
The rebranding is part of Elon Musk's longer-term goal of shifting it toward an everything app in 3 to 5 years. Musk has said he envisions an app that could give users services beyond social media, like peer-to-peer payments. The idea mirrors WeChat, a wildly popular app in China, whose pay services can be used almost anywhere in that country. Hashtag Goodbye Twitter was trending on Twitter on Monday, with reference to the old logo as well as criticism from users about the new one. Marketing and branding experts say the rebrand risks throwing away years of Twitter's name recognition.
I think losing the iconic Twitter logo and the birdie, users are not going to love that.
Wedbush Securities Managing Director Daniel Ives told Reuters the move was risky.
When you lose an iconic logo like that, rebrands are dangerous.
And now to the region. As 204 illegal migrants detained in Turks and Caicos over the weekend, the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force reporting its Marine unit intercepted the group on Saturday. They say reports from a radar station about a suspicious vessel making its way toward the island just before 11 p.m. put police on alert. The group included 52 females and 102 males. It was TCI's 23rd migrant interception this year. And finally, the Montserrat government says it's working overtime to find a solution to power outages there. 6 of the island's 7 power generators currently out of service, forcing Montserrat Utilities Limited to engage in load shedding. The deputy premier says 2 outside engineers are due to help the company with restoration efforts. Still to come in our news, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was July 25th. Then in our news at 7:30, an Our News Health Alert as STIs on the rise in Grand Bahama, residents reacting as a clergyman says, wrap it up. Plus, a woman accused of conspiracy to commit murder loses her appeal. When Our News continues. Welcome back to Our News. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was July 25th. Take a look.
On this day in Bahamian history in 1860, the slave ship Peter Mole was wrecked off Linyard Key, Abaco. The vessel was coming from the Congo River, making its way to Havana, Cuba, when it was shipwrecked, carrying 400 enslaved Africans to be sold. Of the enslaved, 390 were able to make it safely to shore and were later rescued by Bahamian wreckers including Ridley Pinder and Henry Sweeting. As the United Kingdom had abolished the slave trade and the institution of slavery in the British Empire, the Africans were taken to New Providence and their captors jailed. The Africans were dispersed as indentured laborers in Nassau, and many of them went to live in the liberated African settlement Fox Hill in eastern New Providence. Then 25 years later in 1885, the Vatican transferred the authority of the Catholic Church in the Bahamas from the Diocese of Charleston to the Diocese of New York. The Bahamas would be part of the New York Diocese until it became its own ecclesiastical unit on February 7, 1932. Fast forward to 1956, when an article appeared in the Palm Beach Post detailing the resignation of then House Speaker Frank Christie, who was accused of election fraud and corruption. Christie was Member of Parliament for Abaco and at one time Cat Island. Demonstrators picketed outside the House of Assembly when they discovered a secret assembly meeting was being held to quell the allegations against Christie. He was forced to resign shortly after. Days after his resignation, the case went to the Magistrates Court, where then Magistrate Maxwell Thompson decided there was insufficient evidence to move the case to a higher court, and all allegations were dismissed. And finally, in 2014, the Bahamas Agricultural and Industrial Corporation, BAIC, corporate offices were officially opened on Soldier Road at the Industrial Park by then Prime Minister Perry Christie, in a ribbon-cutting ceremony to commemorate the event. At the time, Christie said the opening represented a great step in the accomplishment of self-sufficiency. The 10,000 square foot facility was to house executive offices and a training center, the only one of its kind at the time.
All right, the International Day for the Conservation of the Mangrove Ecosystem is July 26th, also known as World Mangrove Day. The Bahamas National Trust says it has some big plans. Senior Communications Officer Elijah Sands.
So mangroves play a crucial role in the Bahamas for our economy, socially, culturally, recreationally. You cannot overstate how important mangroves are. So World Mangrove Day coming up, we always use this as an opportunity to not just raise awareness of mangroves, but celebrate them and encourage people to play a role in their restoration and conservation. So the BNT and its partners has a lot of mangrove restoration programs going on all around the Bahamas. Bonefish Pond itself has been the site of over a decade-long restoration effort.
Stresses the efforts and celebrations aren't limited to New Providence. He says they'll be focusing on islands where mangroves were devastated by Hurricane Dorian.
Also on Abaco and Grand Bahama, we're working with a lot of our local and international partners to restore mangroves affected by Hurricane Dorian. So for the next coming weeks, we'll be on Abaco, we'll be on Grand Bahama, we'll be working with our partners to engage the community to plant mangroves in these damaged areas. And on Mangrove Day itself, we'll just be putting out some educational material just to teach people a little bit more about mangroves and give people the opportunity to learn more about them.
All right, and we've got more coming from the Bahamas National Trust in our news at 7:30. But if you want to watch that story you just saw again, and for all of today's top stories, you can visit ournews.bs. That's going to do it for us at News at 7. Joining us now is Italia Hall. She's got the latest headlines. Italia?
Yes, Ken. Well, coming up, an Our News health alert as STIs are on the rise in Grand Bahama. Residents reacting as a clergyman says, wrap it up. Plus, a woman accused of conspiracy to commit murder loses her appeal. Here are your latest headlines. Behind bars, first tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. A woman is in prison tonight after losing an appeal against her conviction of conspiracy to commit murder. Also, buckle up, suit up. Those words from a Grand Bahama pastor following news the number of sexually transmitted infections are increasing. Plus, a refuted claim to Health and Wellness Minister dismissing stories about thousands of COVID-19 cases going unchecked in New Providence. And later, remembering the life and legacy of former Police Commissioner Paul Ferguson, when Our News Live at 7:30 returns.
Just when Leo was about to buy this useless pair of Hands underwear, he remembered that
Welcome to Our News, and thank you for joining us. I'm Italia Hall. We've got reaction tonight to news STIs are on the rise in Grand Bahama. This as the Health Minister, Dr. Michael Darville, weighs in. We'll get to that story in just a bit, but first. A woman jailed for luring a witness against a notorious gang member to his death has lost an appeal against her conviction. However, Karen Moss won an appeal against her 35-year sentence with the Privy Council. This now means the Court of Appeal will have to resentence her. Now, Moss was convicted of conspiracy to murder O'Neill Marshall, who was also known as Yardy, between April 30, 2016 and May 1, 2016. Marshall was placed in the Witness Protection Program after he agreed to testify in the upcoming abetment to murder case of a gang member. The Privy Council upheld Moss' conviction, saying the defense of duress was not available to her. However, the country's apex court said the Court of Appeal should have considered whether Moss acted under coercion in sentencing her. And now to the island of Grand Bahama, where health officials confirmed the number of sexually transmitted infections are increasing. The Health and Wellness Minister speaking with us on the news as residents on that northern island react.
The Grand Bahama community are not taking heed to the warnings. It means that Grand Bahamians are still too much promiscuous.
Those comments from Pastor K. Brian Sands following news the amount of sexually transmitted infections are increasing at an alarming rate on Grand Bahama. As of July 15, some 28 cases were recorded at Grand Bahama Health Services, surpassing figures the same time last year. Those positive cases include gonorrhea, syphilis, chlamydia, and HIV.
It's going to affect the entire community, and if it's higher than it was last year, can you imagine if we do not become conscious?
But on a more positive note, Raquel Harvey says at least many residents are making efforts to take control of their health.
Because that's some place where many persons run away from. So it's good to know your status.
While the age demographic of these latest stats has not been reported, Chris Charlton and Milton Higgs say they believe parents should be more open to talking to their children about sex and even provide them with the necessary protection.
You still have feelings. Your parents probably been through the same thing but couldn't talk to their people. So it makes sense of like, oh, you shouldn't rile your child or be cussing at them because you're feeling some type of way.
You don't know who have what, and then ask me for a young person, I'm scared growing up now.
Now, Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville asked about the news today, saying health officials are now in the process of digitizing the results.
We are now looking to substantiate whether or not that was a surge, but I am in close contact with infectious disease expert, Dr. Forbes, who is leading the charge.
And as the numbers seem to climb, Pastor Sands giving these words of encouragement.
Buckle up, suit up, make sure that your partner, and get education, become aware.
All right, well, the Ministry of Health releasing a statement yesterday refuting claims that there were thousands of COVID-19 cases going unchecked in New Providence in recent weeks. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville says statistics prove otherwise.
We have been reading and we follow social media, and in the last couple of days we've been noticing some trends on social media indicating that there are thousands of Bahamians who are now positive for COVID-19, may be associated with our independence celebration. I want to assure the Bahamian people that our cases of COVID is still very low. On maximum, we see about 3 to 5 cases daily. And when we look at what happened last year to compare with this year, the cases are down.
All right, well, a few light showers this afternoon in the capital. Hopefully temperatures cool down after a hot couple of weeks. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the first check on weather. Greg.
Yeah, thanks, Italian. Welcome, everybody, for a quick check on conditions outside our studios and around the islands. Right now, it's 86 degrees outside our studios with some showers nearby, even a couple isolated thunderstorms offshore. Your winds out of the east-northeast at 12 miles per hour, and your feels-like temperature very humid and warm, 94 degrees. Satellite and radar composite, upper level low spinning just to the west of Cuba, bringing some moisture across our area. That's going to continue to generate some showers and thunderstorms across the island chain. And we also have an upper level low to the east of us, as well as the surface trough. All of that will be moving towards the west. The National Hurricane Center will watch this system over the next couple of days for some possible development. That's a quick check on conditions outside our studios and around the island. Stick with us. Look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, work on the new correctional facility is underway and is expected to include a number of enhanced features, plus an eco-adventure. Did you know that you can go on a Mangrove kayaking tour? Our Marlena Leonard takes us through the unique experience. And later, paying tribute to the life and legacy of former Commissioner of Police Paul Ferguson. That story when our news continues.
Doctors Hospital has reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. Your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new, modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnosis and true personalized treatment begin. With locations across New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Exuma, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at clinics.doctors.
If new, Heineken Silver was a riveting Viking saga.
Last the 12th, your family tortured my first wife and stole my second favorite goat. Now you want to marry my daughter. Okay.
All the taste, no bitter endings. Smooth, fresh, silver.
Introducing the Focal Smart Pass app that helps you to fuel up faster. Here's how it works. Download the app on the App Store or get it on Google Play and create your profile with payment details. Visit your nearest Shell station, open the app, scan the pump's QR code, select your payment amount, and begin fueling. Say goodbye to cash and cards because the Focal Smart Pass offers secure and convenient payment options right at your fingertips. Download Focal Smart Pass now and fuel up faster today.
Back in April, Financial Secretary Simon Wilson said government would begin publishing contract awards when the reporting capacity of its procurement system is improved. Wilson telling reporters today that it's a work in progress.
We have made great strides. We have most agencies have their contracts reported. There are one or two ones which we think are critical to be included before we publish. So we wait for those agencies to upload the last of contracts awards. And once that's done, we'll be able to publish. I would like it to be done as soon as possible. I'm working with the agencies. So we've provided agencies additional resources to make sure that they have all the contracts done.
The Public Procurement Act mandates government to disclose the name and address of winning contract bidders and the award amount within 60 days of the contract award, among other things. Wilson says the act came into effect on July 1st.
There are many different aspects. So we've The attendance boards are all in place, all functioning at all ministries. The rules are being followed. All right, we're doing more public procurement than ever before. If you go on our portal, you'll see many opportunities that were never there. All right, so we're doing everything that we should be doing. It's always a work in progress. Yes, we can improve. The publication of contracts is an outstanding item that we're working on. But we are actively working.
All right, well, government is still looking to begin construction on the new corrections facility this year. That's according to National Security Minister Wayne Monroe. This despite officials being sent back to revise plans and scale down on the cost of the facility.
We're still pushing for it because it's being designed to meet a number of urgent priorities. One, the Mental Health Act being brought into force. There are components that are designed directly to that. The continual reports about the conditions of the existing prison, which is what we have, drives us to have to improve it, and the need to move from a prison to a correctional facility.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news comes back from the break, the late Paul Ferguson has been described as a leader who put his officers first. A former national security minister is paying tribute to the former commissioner of police tonight.
Team Bahamas won today on the volleyball court in Suriname and in the pool in Japan. And Jonquil Jones went on a tear over the weekend. Hold tight, our sports is coming right up.
Plus, it's almost International Day for the conservation of the mangrove ecosystem. In light of the annual observance, our Marlena Leonard takes us on a mangrove kayaking experience when our news returns. Stay with us. This is our news. Welcome back. We often hear about the importance of mangroves, but the Bahamas National Trust is encouraging Bahamians to get in the water and see it for themselves. That's exactly what our Marlena Leonard did at the Bonefish Pond National Park. Let's take a look.
When you think of kayaking, some may think of whitewater rafting, but we've got something arguably prettier and a lot safer here at home: mangrove kayaking. BNT's Senior Communications Officer Elijah Sands let us do just that at the Bonefish Pond National Park.
That's not a really big kayaking hobby in the Bahamas, or interest in kayaking in the Bahamas, but a lot of people love it. They just never had the opportunity to do it. And the Bonefish Pond National Park is one of those places that people can come and enjoy kayaking. The Bahamas National Trust itself does not have an established kayaking program, but you can reach out to us if you want to book, for example, a kayaking experience.
He says seeing it for yourself makes all the difference.
There's nothing like getting in a kayak or getting in the water and getting up close and personal with these ecosystems. When you get on a kayak and you're able to get in the interior of these mangroves, you get to see what we like to tell people about. Now, you get to see the fish, you get to see the birds, you get to just feel like what it means to be truly in one of these ecosystems.
And don't be discouraged if you're not the best swimmer. All of these kayak excursions include life jackets, so it's really accessible.
Honestly, anybody can kayak. You can be a beginner or you can be a professional. Anybody can get in a kayak. Bonefish Pond itself doesn't get no deeper than about 6.5 feet at any point.
And you get a quick course on kayaking before the tour begins. We quickly started spotting wildlife as we started the journey, with Elijah's guidance being equal parts wildlife spotter, stand-up comedian, and historian. Our mini tour only took about an hour, and in that time, it's easy to forget you're only minutes away from some of the country's busiest areas.
So we just wrapped our tour. We saw turtles, we saw birds, we got up close and personal with mangroves, and all I have to say is if you ever feel like you need to get out of the city, you can do that while still being on the island here at Bonefish National Park. Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
It's time to catch up with our national swim and volleyball teams, and John Carl Jones lighting up the WNBA over the weekend. Here's Tage Adderley with a check on sports. Tage?
Thanks, Natalia. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Our Sports. I'm Tage Adderley. The Caribbean Senior Volleyball Championships continued yesterday in Suriname. Our men followed up the women's Sunday win with the win of their own yesterday. The Bahamas men's and women's volleyball teams both picked up wins in Paramaribo, Suriname. The men's team made their tournament debut against Curacao yesterday, defeating them in 4 sets. Eugene Stewart led the way with 16 points and Kyle Wilson was right behind him with 15. The win comes on the heels of the women's Sunday victory against Suriname. We just got news that the men's volleyball team beat Trinidad in 5 sets today. Wilson had 20 points. The women played TNT as well. We'll have those scores when they're available. Moving to the pool, Lamar Taylor's historical run continues. He won his heat at the FINA World Championships in Fukuoka, Japan, almost setting a national record along the way. Taylor came in first in the 5th heat of the 50-meter fly at a time of 23.91 seconds, 0.2 of a second off the national record set by Elvis Ferns Burrows. Zaylee Elizabeth Thompson also competed in the 50-meter butterfly and the 200-meter medley. Devontae Carey and Renishka Gibbs are set to get in the pool next. We'll have their results as soon as they're in. Now, Jonquil Jones dominated the WNBA over the weekend, helping her New York Liberty sweep the competition. Jonquil Jones balled out to help her New York Liberty pick up a couple of wins over the weekend. The post player from Grand Bahama dropped 27 points and 11 rebounds on Friday as they beat the Washington Mystics 96-87. She followed that up with 18 and 11 in a 101-83 romp against the Indiana Fever on Sunday, helping the Liberty score 44 points in the first quarter, the most points scored in a quarter in the league's 26-year history. JJ and the Liberty are playing the Seattle Storm right now. Check back with us for the results. That'll do it for sports today. I'm Tage Adderley.
Still ahead on Our News tonight, a former national security minister is remembering the life and legacy of the late Paul Ferguson. This as he was described as a true leader. And a few light showers in the capital this evening. Hopefully it cools down those hot summer temperatures. Greg is back with your extended weather when Our News continues. Stay with us. Welcome back to our news. Cooler temperatures outside the Our News studios this evening as we had some light showers earlier. Hopefully these nice temperatures remain for the rest of the work week. Well, Greg is back in the Weather Center with your extended forecast. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Natalia, and welcome back, everybody, for our final look at weather. We are tracking a couple of systems. We'll look at the water vapor. That's going to give us basically an idea of what's controlling our weather. Upper level low spinning just to the southwest of Cuba. That's bringing some tropical moisture across the area, generating some showers and some thunderstorms. We also have a blob of moisture that's associated with another upper level low, actually, and a surface trough. That will continue to move towards the west. National Hurricane Center will be watching this one closely over the next couple of days. Has about a 10% chance for formation, but we'll tell you a little later about that. And there is a tropical wave down near the Leeward and the Windward Islands. All of that will be moving towards the west over the next couple of days. So we're looking at a wet weather pattern for us. Showers and thunderstorms in the forecast should give us a little bit of a reprieve from the heat. Of course, those temperatures continuing to stay in the 90s with triple-digit indices. In our infrared satellite, we see this moisture associated with the upper level low just to the east of the Bahamas or southwest of Bermuda. That's going to be moving across us, that tropical wave moving across the Windward Islands. The remainder of the tropics, we have a couple of isolated systems out there. This one near the Windward Islands, the National Hurricane Center giving that a 10% chance for formation, will stay to the south of us, and a very vigorous one coming off the African coast. That has about a 20% chance for formation in the next couple of days. And of course, we are approaching this time of the year where we start to look out in the Atlantic for those systems coming off of Africa. Future forecast showing the moisture associated with that upper level low to the east of the Bahamas moving across us through Wednesday. So showers and thunderstorms will be in the forecast. And then on Thursday, a repeat of the same thing as that system sags towards the west, keeping us a little unsettled for the next several days. Boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. Your winds will be northeast to east at 10 to 15 knots. Seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Your low tide will be at 8-11 tonight. For the central and southeast Bahamas, a caution flag for you guys down there. Easterly winds running at 15 to 20 knots, and they will be gusting at times. Seas running very choppy 4 to 7 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, a wet weather pattern continuing with us through Thursday with showers and thunderstorms in the forecast as that upper level disturbance moves across the area. We should clear out some by the weekend, and by early next week we expect some more showers in the forecast by about Monday time frame. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night and stay safe, everybody.
National Security Minister and Commissioner of Police are paying tribute to the late Paul Ferguson tonight. They reflected on his time as commissioner, describing him as a leader who put his officers first. Our Joshua Williams reports.
Condolences continue to pour in for Paul Ferguson, who died yesterday morning. Ferguson served as the country's 4th police commissioner from 2001 to 2008. During this tenure, he served under then National Security Minister Tommy Turnquest, who affectionately remembered him as the policeman's policeman.
He had a clear vision for the police force. He was very focused on succession planning and ensuring that they had the necessary equipment, the men and women had the necessary training. And he fought for police officers because he was very, very intentional about developing the next generation for the high command. By the high command, I'm talking about divisional commanders and assistant commissioners, really at the top floor, the crew on the top floor.
Paul Roll, a former police commissioner, remembers Ferguson for his openness and problem solving.
He was very approachable. You could go to him, any issue, and I remember I was having an issue where I worked at the criminal records office, and he told me to come and see him. I read up, and the next week I was gone. That issue had gone away.
Turnquest shared that while it can be difficult for politicians to speak on deaths of public figures, Commissioner Ferguson is someone who was near to him.
If you know someone well, someone treated you well, it made it very, very easy to offer that comment. And Paul Ferguson was such a person. I mean, he loved the Bahamas, he loved the police force, he loved his family, he loved his God. He was a good man.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
All right, great story. Thanks, Josh. And to see that story again, of course, you can visit ournews.bs. And with that, we thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.